job as a developer? Or are you stuck in an unfulfilling job? On WeAreDevelopers.com, you find over 1,000 jobs in Europe that fit the tech stack that you want to work with, and salaries go up to $130K. All you have to do is create a free profile, and you automatically get matched with jobs that fit your requirements. So what are you waiting for? Create your free profile and let companies apply to you.
Why should your business go hybrid? When I'm in a race, I should be focused on taking a corner. But what if I had to run around, worried about engine temperatures, thinking about changing tyres? That's how some businesses manage their clouds. But with a hybrid cloud approach with IBM, you'll have the expertise of a team designing best-in-class strategies for your business, the same way a pit crew makes this car hum. So you can focus on, winning.
Hello everyone, good morning. Thanks for joining and welcome to the WeAreDevelopers live days for another edition. I'm Sead and I hope that you are all healthy and safe. We're looking forward to exciting 3 days full of tech content and coding sessions, and I'm honored to be your host for this event. So what is on the plate for today? We are kicking off in a few minutes with an exciting workshop about securing your cloud-native Java applications. Then we will have a lunch break, and at 1 p.m. we will start our afternoon session with 5 interesting talks around React applications, GraphQL, a lot of JavaScript stuff and much more. So if you are registered for the upcoming workshop, you should have received an email with further instructions and a Zoom link to join the workshop. If you cannot find it, no worries, here is the link. And you can also find it above the stream on our live website. So just click on it and join in Zoom to participate actively in the workshop. As for the workshop itself, besides a free IBM Cloud Lite account, you will only need your browser and there are no further requirements for local installations on your machine. So basically you're ready to go. And one last thing before we start and kick everything off. As always, we ask everyone to comply with our code of conduct, which means we need to be nice to each other and treat everyone with respect. So here's a short video. In the meanwhile, I will get our workshop trainer on stage. Okay, welcome back and hello Thomas, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, great.
Great, where are you joining us from?
Yeah, from Worms. It's a suburb from Worms. So, but hopefully my internet connection is very good.
I hope so. We have to rely on it today and basically all the other days as well. Right? And Thomas, do you want to give us a short introduction on what will we learn from you today? What's the topic and what's the what can we take from it?
Yeah, today we will get an introduction, more or less for beginners. There are a lot of different technologies in. It is about security, and security has so many different perspectives and topics, so that we took 2 major topics what is important, because for starting to secure your application, you need an authorization and authentication, for your system. And in this new cloud native world, it is about how to handle all that communication inside your containerized microservices world. And we do that with Istio, and that's the example. That's the starting point to get in. It's not the end for security. There are so many other different topics, but we think that is the most important topic you should know, and this is an introduction to that. So
okay, perfect. That sounds very good. Looking forward to it. So Thomas, the stage is yours.
Okay.
And you're live, Thomas, and joined.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much that you joined the session today. So as I said in the introduction, we get started with security for the Java microservices application. And that's here. Let me go forward. That's the structure. We will do the first of all the presentation of all the content, and then we will do really the hands-on tasks with some preparation and labs and what I did, and then we have a summary and questions and answers. So I want to start with the end. I want to show you what we will have at the end of the entire workshop, what you will have deployed. You will have deployed an application, simple application, which shows articles, and you can log on as Alice. Alice, and here is also Alice here. And oh, the timeout, Alice, and Alice. Oh, hi, what I did. Maybe I have to refresh the browser. Okay, that's live. Something happens in the background. So that's the system what we will have at the end. So here you can see we will have a running application on Kubernetes with Keycloak and different web services, microservices. But now I will go through the presentation, and I have to figure out what the reason is. Maybe there is also some caching. I do not know. That also could be in some situations. I tried only once more. That's live. Yeah, that's live. Okay. There was I have a problem at the moment. Okay. It worked before. I do not know what the reason is. So yeah, that is about the starting point. And now we come to the point what I already said before. When you start develop your application, you have to think about the security stuff, and there are so many different topics which are out there, so that we decided really to go in depth more to the authentication, authorization, implementation, and the platform security stuff. So what you see here is sample architecture of our cloud native starter project. The Cloud Native Starter project is a project where Niklas Heidorf, who also will do a presentation today here at the conference, Harald Üble, and I worked for some times. And the project is about getting started with cloud native topics, with basic stuff, yeah, and with reactive, what you also noticed today, and also with security. And that's the two parts of the project, what we will cover today here in the workshop. And with that, I will move on to the next step. So here you can see I also recorded the video. So that is what normally should happen. Yeah, you you log on with Alice and Alice. Yeah, and then you are registered at the application, yeah, your name is shown and articles are shown, yeah. So that's the simple stuff what the application does. As I said, we have 2 Java microservices, and we have one front end implemented in Vue. We use Keycloak, as you have seen before in the architecture, and that's the background. So, and what we want to do with our cloud native starter project, we want really to use open source technologies. Yeah, so that is our objective in that project and what we are doing, and that is what we also have done for that part of the security stuff. So let's start. The first open source tool what we need for authentication authorization. That's the topic was what I will first address. And the second topic will be the topic with the platform security. And that's exactly the part where we will go into depth with the hands-on lab where you will deploy everything. Okay, let's start. We use Keycloak, open source identity and access management for modern services. Keycloak is available for you who do not know it since 2013 and launched by Red Hat. And the important thing for that is that it supports and relies on standard protocols for decentralized authentication and authorization. That's OpenID Connect, Auth2, and Summer. And that is also the reason why we are using it, because the OpenID Connect distributed authentication with tokens and so on. That is what is the usual standard in applications you write in the modern world. It includes out-of-the-box user management, and that was very cool for us because we can start without implementing what it also supports, single sign-on, social media logins, and others. And that's really cool. And just one step back with the OpenID Connect, you have to keep in mind when you use the OpenID Connect or think about that standard, it is based on Auth2, and Auth2 describes tokens and access tokens and refresh tokens. And Keycloak gives us later on an access token, and that access token has is a token which is also from Auth2 and in a JSON web token format. So what we need from the next step when we choose our technologies, that was the first open source stuff. What is good support for us, to support that open standards, and with Java, and also because we are using the Vue also for supporting our Vue front end. So okay, because we don't want to implement too much in our code. So the next is Quarkus. Quarkus, I guess a lot of you know Quarkus. It's famous, or it became famous. It was released in 2019. It is also supported by Red Hat, and Quarkus is especially built for Kubernetes native Java framework with native compilation. And what the cool thing it is optimized or uses best of breed of Java libraries and standards. And that was important for us. With the support of OpenID Connect, there are also examples out there, to do that, how to protect the front end, how to organize the access to your backend microservices. There are examples out there, and it also supports out of the box the Eclipse Microprofile, what we are using for our implementation of our RESTful microservices. And Microprofile does have a good support for the handling also for the JSON web tokens. And that's the reason why it is a very good fit for us that we use it. And by the way, I can say Niklas is a big fan of Quarkus. So, and the next is Microprofile. A little bit about Microprofile, if you do not already know it. Yeah. Microprofile, maybe you know Spring. It is a specification, yeah, which extends at least Jakarta EE to optimize the implementation for RESTful microservices using open standards. Yeah. So, and for us, as I said, it was very important that we have the support of standards like Auth2, OpenID Connect, and all these other things, and the integration with the Keycloak is given with all that standard. So that's cool for us. That's the reason why we use it. You will see later on the source code. Yeah. A little bit about the JSON web token. That's the standard method for defining the claims security which are needed to have an exchange securely between your different partners. I would say for the authorization part that you have a secure key that is at least contains the information about it. How is it secured by the encryption and so on, yeah, and what is the issuer, for example. And for our example, it is important that for the Auth2, for the OpenID Connect, there's a standardization also for information about claims, and the issuer, for example, is a part of that in that token. But we will see this also later. Okay. That was the reason, yeah, the reason why we choose that different frameworks. And now we go through the workflow, how it works for the implementation of the authentication, authorization, what we will not do in a workshop at the moment live here. But you can follow steps inside the documentation, and it's written there. We do not do that. The reason is, therefore, if you want to do that locally, there are some prerequisites for the installation. We haven't, we don't want that people have to install anything in addition. So that was the reason for that. And what you can do that by yourself. And I also created a video for that. Okay, let's start with the Keycloak stuff. When we take a look at the Keycloak, there are RAMs inside RAM. You define what is your, or what are your rules to secure your system. If the identity and access management, you have users inside. As I said, here for us was relevant to have our user management, where we define a role, yeah, to access our backend microservices, really to get the articles, yeah. And the next is Keycloak also have the information about which is which client types we have, because when we have this external, in quota, external authorization, yeah, which client does want to be authorized, yeah, so that we can react on that. And here is also the important stuff combined with that different client types, so that we really know, okay, this was a request from a valid source, and we will redirect to that valid source when we have a request from outside to Keycloak. And that was our configuration. Here you can see the configuration here in that short video. That's the users. Yeah, the Alice. Here we have the role user. And here's the client definition. Here the front end. And here these were the, oh, let me once again, yeah. These are the specifications we had in that situation. Okay, now move on. With that in mind, now we start. What happens when we start? We have our 3 applications here in Kubernetes. The web app runs on Nginx, and when we start with invoking that from a URL, we will load our application into the browser, and then with that we directly redirect our login here to the Keycloak. So because we want to get that access token and we want to authenticate ourselves. So, and with that in mind, we can see how we have implemented that. It is very easy here. Keycloak does provide an SDK for JavaScript. We can just use for our implementation. We do the definition what we use. So from what is our realm, yeah, with Quarkus, you can see here what the client type is, and then it will be directly redirected on load to that RAM of Keycloak, and that's the reason why we get that login. Yeah. Then Keycloak does the validation, knows the redirect URL and so on, provides the access token, and that's the access token content what we have, just to keep in mind with the JSON stuff. Here, what I said with the signing and how it is encoded. Yeah, I don't want to go in depth to all of that. I want to show you only the payload content here of the data with the claims. Well, I said, for example, what is the issue in that case? Yeah, so we can find here, and also the role. Yeah, and also the name of the user. So that's the content, and we directly utilize that content later in the source code. Here is a very good blog post from a colleague of ours, Henrik Löser, related to JSON web tokens, building blocks. It's fun to go in depth with their blog. Okay, we have the content now, and now we can invoke, not invoke, but before we invoke it, we will display the user on the front end. So that means here, so we will just get the token content, yeah, and we will get from the SDK, as you can see, from the token path directly the value of the JSON web token, and so we can display it. By the way, yeah, we save the tokens, access token and identity token, and with that, so we are ready to go to invoke the get articles service, which provides the articles. With that, we have inside the access token that we know that the user name and the role and the type, as I said, with the front end. And now we coming more and more closer how to invoke a protected endpoint from from Java, yeah, and how to define that protected endpoint. So when we invoke the microservice with the token, mostly the most things are directly covered by the frameworks we're using. And it also covers that it verifies at the issue of the token with our Keycloak RAM if this request is really valid. So that is what you can see here. So the next is how to invoke it. You can see we define here with the WeAre token the headers for the authentication, and then we will just invoke the web API URL. So now is the question, how is this web API URL or the endpoint defined? And with that, we are here in the Java code implementation, what I said with Quarkus, Microprofile, Jakarta, and all that stuff. Supporting OpenID Connect. And at least what we only have to do here, we only have to add the annotation roles allowed. The rest seems it's all the same with the Jakarta EE, as you know, and Microprofile, it's normal definition of the endpoint. Yeah. And the question is, because now that seems to be all, yeah. So is that really all? No, for sure you have to configure something so that the framework knows where the RAM is, yeah, client ID, what the secret is. And now we come to a very cool thing here with the Microprofile REST client. You can now really directly use that authorization header you already got, yeah, just to forward it to the next invocation, yeah. And that is very useful. So we do not have to add additional implementation in web API, yeah, with authorization, add Keycloak, getting a token, and do the next invocation to the article service. So we directly can use the header tokens, and that has an impact, yeah, because when we now do the implementation of the invocation of the next protected endpoint, we have the ability directly to just invoke it. And it does the same verification here. And that is the post construct we're doing with the definition, as we said, we're using the Microprofile client here. And then here, we do not have to specify the authentication header and things like that. And that's in the web API. The implementation of the article service is the same for the protected endpoint as it is for the web API. The difference here is that we really want to reuse what we get directly or from the from our authentication. So that is a role-based security is true, is set. And I want to highlight that that was a tricky thing. Niklas implemented that. He was in exchange with Philip Krüger, and he's from the Quarkus team. Exactly the value, set the right value here. And with that, yeah, it works. And that was a walkthrough through the part of the implementation of the authentication authorization, how it works, and verified with you can verify it in a workshop when you are going to that workshop. In the material, there's guidance for that. So, and now we're coming to the platform security, and I will go through the platform security, showing what we will do now in the next steps when we go through the hands-on tasks labs. As I said in the introduction, it is important that we have a framework which controls the microservices communication also inside our platform where we're running all that containers. And in our situation is Kubernetes, that platform for the container orchestration. So, and what we want to do is we want to control the communication. We want to define how to direct the routing. We will measure it, and everything of that at least is defined as a service mesh. And Istio isn't service mesh. Yeah. And it provides a uniform way for integrating all that microservice stuff, because the communication at least is key in that scenario. And with that in mind, I want to give you a brief introduction to the major concepts, what I really like here, how Istio does it. You see here we have in focus that we control the traffic, yeah. And what you see here, that, for example, that our pods on Kubernetes, yeah, where our service is running. And the way how to ensure that everything you want to control, you can really control, is just insert a proxy or a gatekeeper. So we say, yeah, the entire flow on the traffic really goes through that proxy. Yeah. And with that in mind, yeah, the door is open for everything you want to do. Yeah. You can control it, and then you can see here how it is implemented with Istio here. It is in the pod. You can see there are different containers, and one is called here the Istio proxy, and they call it also a sidecar. And you can see when pod is instantiated, this is always here also instantiated, that container with that service. And with that, as I said here, now the way is open. There are different. There's a control plane with different components in there, which has the objective really to discover, configure, and provide certificates. Yeah, and now we are fine inside. Yeah, but we do not only want to control the inside traffic, we also want to control what's coming in and what's coming out. So we have an ingress traffic, yeah, what is coming in, so then we can route it, and also an egress traffic, the outgoing. For example, if we need an external service like weather service, so that we can whitelist it then. So, and that is the basic here to understand, so we can all really control it. Now we're going to what we are going to do when we set up the example. What is about that ingress? When Istio is installed and we have this Istio ingress on our IBM cloud, yeah, we take with that instantiation here, we later can see we can get the type of that ingress. It's a load balancer, and that load balancer gets an external IP. And with that external IP, we are in the internet, and we can be reached from outside. And here you can see technical. It's just a pod running here inside our inside our Kubernetes cluster. Okay, with that, we are in the internet, but yeah, to make it secure, because we are talking about that security stuff outside, we need an mTLS certificate. And so nobody wants a browser communication with untrusted resource. Yeah. So, and with that, we need not only an IP, we need an URL, yeah, on DNS, and domain specified. So, and that DNS must be validated by someone to get a certificate, yeah, so that the browser later really can see, okay, that's really a trusted source, our URL, and we have an authority, certificate authority. Here we use Let's Encrypt. There are different others, GoDaddy, DigiCert, and so on. And that certificate in the first step, yeah, is stored inside the default namespace of our Kubernetes cluster, and we will put that to the namespace of the Istio, yeah, and then the ingress can access that, and with that we have a secure communication to our application, yeah, from the browser. And with that, we can see here, so that's the next stuff. So that's how it looks like. Yeah, then we have secure communication here. Okay, the next is when we have that, yeah, we are secure from the outside. And what we want to also organize, we want to organize that how to route to the specific service, so that we have designated routing information for our ingress. So with that, we can use a virtual service. That's the ingress configuration. Yeah, we have it at the moment. And with that, we do the configuration of that ingress gateway. And as you can see here, we have 3 routes. The one route is for the web application, so that we can access the web application with the root. Yeah, and authentication, the auth, that we can access the Keycloak, and the articles to access the web API. Yeah, so because later on, as you have seen, our web application is outside and must go inside to get the article services, and here we need that to configure. Okay, and that's the configuration. And with that, we have everything available here outside. And to have some restrictions, or to implement restrictions inside our Kubernetes cluster, it's good to it's important to know that Istio comes with a certificate authority, and it provides the same certificates as you have seen before with the TLS certificate. And this is the trusted authority to every element, or every element which is running inside Istio, and Istio takes care of. And with that, everyone who is instantiated with the proxy gets an own certificate. So that means every service can be identified. Now that's cool. Everyone trusts the authority, and everyone can be identified. And with that everyone can be identified, yeah, you can see here, that's once again, that here you can see that's here inside the proxy, the Istio daemon. We can use mutual TLS, because the difference between TLS, major difference between TLS and mTLS, is that not only the browser, for example, what we had knows, oh, that's a trusted authority, because the Let's Encrypt says, yeah, that's a valid certificate, yeah. Everyone knows it, so that's a very valid certificate, because everyone can, yeah, okay, he asks me, and he and say, yeah, is that a valid source? And the same here. And every component has it, not only the proxies here inside, it's also for the ingress. And with that in mind, yeah, we can enforce also additional policies. So if you enforce that, you do the first step, that not services which are not in the same namespaces cannot access, for example, here the services in a namespace here when you enable it, but it comes directly when we install the Istio on Kubernetes here. with the mTLS here, but in a permissive mode, and so that it will not really be checked. But you can do it and use it for strict, and then you have the ability when you use it, that you can also doing policy-based authentication, so that we can really trust, okay, for example, only the web API can access our article service and things like that. So that is really cool for that authorization perspective. And the next is that it also would provide JSON web token, and the handling of JSON web token. And as you know, in the combination, when we know where the resource is with our OpenID Connect, and we get the JSON web token, then you can also do this authentication stuff, user role, and so on, and knowing, okay, only Alice can access, for example, here with the role user. But keep in mind, with that kind of implementation, it would be that we never would know it directly here in our application itself. And we think from our perspective, as an implementation, you should know what happens if a user is not always there. Maybe you want to implement fallbacks and other things and other handlings. It is a possibility, and you have to think about if it makes sense for you. And as you can see here, our application security with Keycloak, with identity and access management, we used heavily these JSON web tokens. And now with the platform security, we have the TLS, we have the secure communication to the outside world, and we have the mTLS with the communication, which is all inside here in Kubernetes. So, and with that, you can see here, I like Kiali, which directly shows how everything works. And gives a good overview of how the invocation is, and it's transparent for that. Here you can see in that example, we have enabled, for example, here mTLS. Okay, now we are ready to go for the lab material. So here, if there are, so let me go here. So when you go to the lab material, you should have a link which directly guides you here or directly to the workshop material. Oh, that's the workshop material. So you can see here. And when you see that the workshop is organized in the setup of the IBM Cloud, because we want to access also the IBM Cloud. Set up the application environment, what we will do, and then the platform security with mTLS. And here, that was what I said with the example for the authentication. Here's a video, you can do it by yourself. I also added a part which contains known issues. That means if you have some problems, maybe your Cloud Shell was closed and other things, you can find here. So I want to start with the setup, the overview. So we will use here in our example the IBM Cloud Kubernetes cluster service, which a service I provide to you with instances, with free instances, paid instances, but IBM Cloud also has a free instance possibility to test the Kubernetes, but we need an external IP address, an official external IP address, and that's the reason why we use that service. And we use the Cloud Shell, and that's the reason why you do not need to set up anything on your local machine. So now access the cluster. You need to have an IBM Cloud account. You have to register for that. Yeah, you should have done it before. Hopefully you have done it. And then you can accessing a cluster here with the request. Here, that's my link to the instructions. I go back here. So lab instructions, here are the lab instructions. So that is the link where you can request your cluster. Okay. Put it here. Must here. Okay, I have to verify the link if there is some problems or something. Oh, there's a misspelling in the link here. I have to change it. Yeah, that's the right link. Sorry for that. There was a misspelling. I need to copy it in the chat. Where is it? Where's the chat? Cannot in the chat. Yeah, it's just security microservices without the B. Yeah, so I had here spelling with the B. That's wrong. Yeah. Okay. Here you request it, and you insert. Go back. Copy and. You copy that's the lab key. Yeah, and with that key you can request one. I already requested one, and I can see how many people have requested an cluster. We have 100 cluster reserved for you, and with that you can request a cluster. So what I will do, I will move on with the example setup, and the cluster is available until tomorrow. And if you are not able to finish all the steps in the workshop, yeah, you can do it maybe also in tomorrow morning or after or during the day. Yeah, so that is what you can do here. So I will move on with the lab instructions and doing the setup so that you can follow the setup also then later on. Okay, with that, we will go to the setup. Here you can see after that, after you requested a cluster, you get here the notification. Here is also the information which cluster is for you reserved. And now I will go to that process here. I have my cluster. I know it's the 6th cluster. That's my cluster. You get the cluster number. I guess with your account, you will not see every cluster which is running here. So then with that cluster, and we close all these other stuff. So with that cluster, we have access also to the Kubernetes dashboard, opens up for our cluster. And what I want to ensure when you're going through all that process, yeah. Later, we will change between different accounts. That cluster is not in your IBM Cloud account. Yeah, you only need the IBM Cloud account for the email, because but remember, when you register here, that email must be your IBM ID. Yeah, if you do not have an IBM ID, no cluster will be created, will be accessible for you. Okay, so that will be validated. So with that, we can access our Kubernetes cluster, or that's our Kubernetes cluster, or my Kubernetes cluster currently. Yeah. So, and to ensure that you are logged on with the right account, it could be because we will change the accounts here to access the Cloud Shell. Just refresh the browser to ensure that you are in the right account for the right task. Okay, let me move on with the instructions. So that's the instructions here. You can see how you can find it. Yeah, that is everything. It's written here. And what is important also to know, I go here. I will. How to access the cluster. Here are the commands you can copy and directly put it into the Cloud Shell we will open up in a few moments. Yeah, so that makes life easier. So I directly copy now one command, yeah, for the access. So the next is I will open up. Well, before I will open up, I will change here to my account. And then I will open a Cloud Shell. Yeah, you can see here in my account, there are no clusters. A Cloud Shell. And the cool thing with the Cloud Shell is that you have a shell with all the pre-installed or needed CLI tools and things what we need for doing all that stuff. And so you do not have to do an additional installation. Okay. It takes a while, yeah. And when the preparation of the session is done, we can access. Okay. To the instructions. So this is how to access. The next is here, the setup of the Cloud Shell terminal session. You already have seen what I did. Yeah, that is here. My Cloud Shell is currently not open. Yeah, it takes a little bit. Restart. It takes a bit. Okay. With that, you can see here what we will do. We will do then the clone of the GitHub project of our Cloud Native Starter project. And we will then move to the security part of the project and having the code there. Okay. Maybe I have to start it once again. Yeah, it could be. I do not know what reason is for the. There are so many possibilities in a live session with some problems maybe with the browser. And maybe I create an incognito window. So I will also create an incognito window on my other screen. So to verify if this is only a problem in that browser session. Yeah, it seems to persist. Start the incognito window on my screen, or yeah. No, I have the same problem. I maybe changed the location of my my cloud share. So maybe that helps. Ah, yeah, it works. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Try it out with what I said. So, and now I will verify it myself. So now I will do my authentication. At that cluster. You have to log in for sure. So I get here in code. Oops. So and that with that code, I can log on. Here it is important that you select the Advo work account. I have more accounts, as you can see. Yeah, because that's the account where we have the cluster. And let's see how to register on our cluster. And that's the reason what I said to know what all the steps and copy all the names and information. To access the cluster, you have to ensure that you are logged onto the right account. Otherwise, you cannot access your cluster. I have the cluster 6. Yeah. So here is my. So you can just copy it here. Then access. Now we have the configuration that we can access our cluster with kubectl. Everything is here. So and then we can start with cloning the code from the GitHub project here. You can see I copy it and I just paste it. I like that. We are going to do a lot of just copy and paste stuff. We run through all the major relevant information in the presentation. So what we are going to do here, we are setting environment variable, so to ensure that we are in the right path. So that is related also to the steps, copy and paste steps in our example. So, okay, we are done with that. So now setting up the application environment. What we need now, we have a plain Kubernetes here. You can see that's our Kubernetes. And with that, we need to install here an Istio. So how to set up the Istio? I automated the entire steps. I created a bash script, and so the cool thing with the Cloud Native Starter project is not only the implementation stuff of the Java code and Vue and so on. It is also that you have a lot of bash scripts you can examine how we did extracting information and so on. Yeah, so here I'm going to create the setup of the Istio. Yep. Maybe I close it here. So yeah, going back to the Cloud Shell, copy, and now run this script. Yeah. So install the Istio. It is installed from an operator. We ensure that we have version. Okay, it's a little bit older, but it still works with that cluster. And here I verify are all the pods running. Yeah. And by the way, you know, when that takes, excuse me, that takes a while. Where I had it, I will just take a look here. The code. That's code. So it takes a while, as I said, but I want to open up a new tab. So that's a GitHub project. You can also start if you want. And that's where we are in the project. Yeah. And that's the scripts and the configurations we're using, and that what we have cloned to the Cloud Shell, yeah, to work with that. And for example, where is it? I did it ingress setup, TLS, mTLS, the Istio setup, and here you can see how the implementation works. Yeah, how this is set up is automated. Okay, yeah, it is automated, and we can take a look. Do we have also the Istio namespace here? Okay. We can also verify it for sure from or we will verify it from the command line, or we can verify it from the command line, so you can see what the result is. And here you can see also the manual steps, but you don't have to do these manual steps as you have seen. Yeah, so can walk through that manual steps. And then we will set up or not set up, we will expose the Ingress gateway using the DNS and with all the certification stuff we will do later. And here we also have an automated setup. The only thing what we have to ensure here, that we set the variable with the cluster. So, and I know, okay, we haven't set it at the moment. So my cluster name is here. We use different environment variables later also for the copy and paste stuff to make our life easier. So, and one is, for example, I will clear it. is my cluster. Okay. That is our cluster name. Okay, now we have this variable set. It's my cluster here with the information. And you can also use these get cluster, but maybe, I do not know, maybe you get more clusters, yeah. And that's the easiest way. What I should do, just to copy it and paste it. So the next is we will execute the setup of the ingress gateway. Yeah. So, and now we can see here, that is the ingress URL we have with the cluster name. And what we are going to do is we will export that URL we now have as an external an environment variable we use. So yeah. So that's our. Yep. No copy and paste error. So, and then yeah, we can also show it, but I would say it works. So, and that's all the manual steps. Yeah, but we have gone to the entire process before in the presentation. So now we have the external API, external IP address, yeah, with the gateway, and now we want to expose that gateway. So what you have seen with that, let's encrypt. Yeah, we want to use it, and now we are going to verify once again with the cluster. I really try to do every step so that you have to document it. Also, when you watch the video, that going through all that steps, and now we list the subdomains which are currently here. So we have here the IP addresses, what I said, and we have the different subdomains information, and now we're going to, yeah, that's the output. And what I said with that, we now get for that subdomain that secret. Yeah, so sorry, I didn't set it. We have the DNS subdomains information, and with that we know this related secret, which is needed, that we have to copy it here to the Istio namespace, and that is what we are going to do. What I said, which is it's stored in the default, and we need it to copy it to the Istio namespace, and that is what we are going to do. So we get here. And now we save the secret into a variable. So that's our That's the secret. Ah. Not copy it. I have a problem with the copy. Okay. It seems to be, it is until the E. So, so that should be the right one, hopefully. So that is what we have. We need to export it, as I said, to the variable. Okay. Should be the right one. And now we get the secret from that source. So copy with that command. So we're clear here. So you can see. Just take a look in that. Now you can see here we have a lot of information here about my secret. Exit. Okay. And the next is we will edit that file, and then we will apply it again so that we copy the secret into our Istio namespace. Okay. That is later, at least what we are going to do. Here we use nano, and what we can copy here, because we will change the name of the secret, so that we can later see how the secret now is available inside our namespace inside Istio system. Okay, we will open the file with nano. I copy the name already here. That's easier. That action. Up. Say clear. So we like nano is my secret. It's easier for editing. Yeah. And what we now have to change, we have to change that name here. That's the name inside the default namespace. Yep. So that's now the new name. And what we like, also Harold is that with Nano you can see also the shortcuts always, so that's easier for the usage. So I want to exit it. No. Ah. No. It does not. Okay. Does not work. Why? Is there anything with my? That's no. Okay. No, I don't want. Yes, I want to save it. Yeah, I want to write it down. Okay, so okay, now we have changed that file, and with that we can apply the change to the Istio, or we copy the secret at least to the Istio namespace. You can see here that's in the default. Yeah, that it was in the default, and now we will put it here. That is what we are going to do. So that's just. And we delete the pod so that it will be instantiated with the new secret information. Okay. With that, we are ready for the next step. Now we verify that we have the Istio URL here. Oh, that's the URL. Oh. And what we are going to do now is that we update inside our configuration of the definition of our gateway, the hosts. Here you can see this we will replace now in the configuration of the Istio ingress gateway, the host with the URL we have from the DNS. So that's what we are going to do here. That's the reason why we can copy that. Excuse me. I will copy it once more. We will open up it with Nano, the Istio ingress TLS. Istio ingress TLS, it's easier. Istio TLS ingress. So copied. So now I need to replace the host. Okay, done. Done. Now say yes, save it. We changed it. And by the way, what is also here, we not only have for the TLS, we also configured with that step. When we take a look once again in this configuration, there's also the mapping of the virtual service. I forgot to say, yeah. So, and with that is that we did also the mapping ourselves with the routing information when we later will have the applications deployed. So, and then we're going to save that change of the virtual service and the Ingress Gateway. So you can see here, that is what we are going to create for the configuration. So with that, with that, we have now this TLS. We can invoke our endpoint with the secure certification, which is already there. By the way, you can also access the definition of the certification inside IBM Cloud. There we have a managing for the certifications, also which is directly given. The certification will expire and we have to manage it. Yeah, but you can also organize the managing inside the IBM Cloud with the related services we have for that. So now we can set up the Keycloak we need. Yeah, we will use for that existing image which is available, yeah, with the configuration of our deployment YAML. So we can verify the parts. It takes a little bit for the instantiation. Let us take a look inside our cluster in a default namespace. You can see here's the Keycloak. So once again, the Keycloak is running. And now we can access Keycloak. Here we're using our saved variables, and then we can just copy it. Oh. Copy. Oh. Cannot. It prevents me to add an addition. Additional tab. So now we in Keycloak, yeah. So we can access the console. Here now, admin. The entire configuration, yeah, is described also in our material. So you can see here that's everything with a log on, what you have seen, and what we are going to do now. I copy here the commands to verify that we have the variables in place. And what I did also an automation for the creating a Keycloak RAM. The challenge for that was I take the RAM from here and load it up and go using the Keycloak API, so that we do not have to really load it here, because normally you would download it with add the RAM, so they cannot do that, and we want to ensure that you do not need to access at any time your local computer. Yeah, and that is the reason why I have to upload it directly from here. And now I insert it, and with that it creates the RAM which we need automatically. So we can see here, yeah, made an update of that. There's also the Quarkus RAM. Yeah, and this is important. And what you have seen before with the roles which are there, that the user role and so on, that what I said, so you can examine it if you want. Yeah, that is what we have. We can examine the access to the new created RAM with a command, so that we directly get a token here. With that, we get a token as Alice on our RAM. That is what we are going to do with the implementation inside the web front end. So here is a token. This is what we will later use for example with security of the access with the mTLS inside the cluster. Okay, these are the optional steps. Yeah. Now we are ready with this first part of the setup. Yeah. And now we starting with the platform security, so that all was, first of all the steps. You see, when you are a developer, you need to know a lot of different things here with the setup, because with the DevOps and also with the microservices, it's good to understand how everything here works and how it works, how it is related together. The next is deploy the services we already have. What we did, we already created containers, yeah, in a Docker Hub, so we will use here. And there is also a configuration for that application. What we did a config map, so that we do not need to configure the service or change the implementation of the services for each time when you want to do it locally, or when you use it here in that example. So that is what we did here, to be flexible with this config map. The Quarkus OpenID Connect authentication server URL. This is also available. So first of all, we will deploy that config map. So when that is created, here's so that is the config map. Yeah, what we had here, or what we're doing here, and now we're going to deploy the applications. So the next one, that is the article service. Then we have here the web API service. The next is the web app, our front end, which at least runs on, or will be served by Nginx. Here is done. So, and then we can verify it from here when every pod is running. It takes a little bit. So we are can also verify the pods running in our console. Takes here, as I said, a bit. And by the way, with the configuration here, I said, with our configuration that we run the Keycloak also here in our cluster with an example instantiation, yeah, and it is inside, so that URL do not need an HTTPS, and it's directly we're using here the functionality we have that we are inside our cluster in the same namespace, and we can directly with that routes, you can directly access the different services, different pods here. And that's the reason why it's not needed to have any external route for that. Let me see if it is finished. It seems to be good. Not here. Everything is running. So we can now access our application with the root URL. And when we do that, we will notice that the request with the redirect URL does not fit what is currently specified in our RAM. That is what I said. It is about how, who is going to request something and how to route it back. And that is what we have to configure inside our Keycloak. Yeah, that is what we have to configure here for the front end. So that's what we are going to do for the next steps. So we will display the needed URL for us. I'm going to say clear. Okay. That's the URL we need. Whoop. Oh. Just do it here. Can just copy the host name. Maybe I can change it here that we do not need everything. We can really just only take the host name. So, and here, so that we just copy that and paste it here. That is what we really need. So then we save that configuration. Those HTTPS. And then once again. Okay, now let's see. I can log on. Wow, it works. I do not know why it didn't work at the beginning. I do not know, there was some, I do not know what it is, but you can see now it works here. So we have it. These are the articles, and now we have set up the application. It is secured with that. Can show the certification, yeah, for the trust, and that is what I said, and yeah, it works. And the next is when we did all this configuration. I showed it to you, and that's not a part, a step currently you have to do here. As I said with the Kiali, so when we now invoke it, and you can see every the traffic here, how the traffic works. it does directly reflect what I showed you in my diagram. Yeah. So now we're going to the next step using this mTLS stuff, what I said before, with the certification authority inside. And now we set it up. Yeah, that is what you've seen. What we are first doing in that part, we will show that we can access here our in a permissive mode, that we really can access our microservice. It was the no, not the microservice that we directly get it from, as I can see from the Keycloak, not from the microservice. That's from one of the next labs. So clear. So, and here's the access token. So we, in the moment, we can access our RAM. We can get also the node port, where is the port is running, or the service. Here, you know, we can see here, that's the port address. So that is we setting here these different variables. And we're also getting the worker IP, so that we not go through the cluster. Now we are logged on here, and now we access the worker inside our cluster. That's the IP address. And now we use that not with TLS, and that's what it shows. Not with TLS. We are inside, so we are the dangerous people from inside, and we can access from inside here the service and get the information with that token. So you can see here the block. Yeah. And that is what we want to avoid, so that you cannot easily access all that that stuff here. And then we're going to say, yeah, now we want to apply the mTLS configuration. So now it's created. We can still, at the moment, get the token from HTTPS. As you can see, we use that here. From HTTPS, we use it to get the token, not from internal, but from external. Yeah. So that's the access token we got. And the next is, now we do the same invocation we did as before. Yeah, with the access token, and now it says here the connection is not valid, so that you can see, okay, it's no longer possible to access it from outside, or from outside, which are not inside the from Istio. So that is what is very good to know here from the organization. Yeah, that is what we had. And I have to verify here what is about our time. We have remaining some remaining minutes. I guess I will work also a little bit to the extra material, or I do not know if there are questions or so on, then we can also go to that, because now we have finished the lab, what we expect to do in a time frame. Yeah, so that is the point for now. If there is any question, yeah, or somebody want to ask something, I do not know. The chat. So I do not know if there's no question at the moment. And if I do not get any question, I just move on, because that's cool stuff with the authorization stuff. Now we are going to verify also the workload once again. Yeah, so just see, okay, do the authorization part now. Get the pods. Everything is running here. What we are now doing to really enforce authentication, because now at the moment, every service, every pod knows, yeah, okay, you are valid, you belong to me, my site, I can verify with mTLS, you are trusted. Yeah, that works, everything. And now we want to add additional policies to that possibility. So, and that is what we are going to do now. We're going to grab the existing service accounts. You can see here. Ah, I forgot. When we go to the service account, first of all, we need the right pod. we not can just copy and paste it here. Okay. So we want to do that for the article. So we copy it from the articles. So you can see here that is here currently the service account, which is specified. And now we create own service accounts. Yeah, and you can see we will do this for the service. We will have service accounts for web API and articles. So that is what we are going to do here. We will create these service accounts. Oh, I always do the wrong direction. And now we replace the configuration for this servants accounts with the configuration we have inside our project. We can take a look at that later. What is all allowed and what is not allowed. Here's the policy, what we see later, and here are the service account information. But let us move on with using the service accounts configurations we defined here. So we replace now that configuration. Okay. Oh, always going in the wrong direction. Can verify once again. Do they running? The deployment, That means now what we are going to do, that we change the deployment, or that we really use over this service account. Yeah. Up. Always going the wrong direction. Now we grab the service account once again. So now you can see here that that's the field service account, and so the token articles. Yeah. Okay. Can see. And now we will define policies who can access which. At the moment, everyone can because everyone knows everyone in that namespace can see, oh yeah, that's a valid certification. I can take a look at the authority, but now with that policy, we can say, okay, that service is really allowed to access that service, and so on. And that is what we are going to do here. But it's not fully complete at the moment because it's only allows, but we have to also to specify which. Yeah, so when we go into that. That's the first step. So when we go back to our cloud native starter application. Oh. Yeah, there's a problem. Okay. And now you can see what is allowed and what is not allowed. Yeah, with the rules we can define it. So doing these posts and get with the service account. And here we will copy and paste these configuration. So, and now we should be able to reload it. Okay, maybe it takes a bit. Configuration. What I want to do when this still maybe I have. Okay, it seems there's another problem. Okay. Oh, maybe there is a misconfiguration. I have to verify here. But I do not know what the reason for that at the moment is. I have to verify it. But a good thing is that applies to you. What I want to say for the next part is that You can also set up the telemetry here in our cloud channel. I do not know what exactly what the reason is. Oh no, yeah, it seems it takes a while. Yeah. I want to show you that you can verify all the traffic also in Kiali. You can also run a setup what we are using, and also to do this directly from here with port forwarding in the cloud shell. So we use it. So with the Kiali stuff here, and for your port forwarding, and then we can take a look here. So then we can take a look at the service traffic. And now hit it here. So it takes time. Yeah. Okay. Kiali, admin. Yeah, I like it. It's so cool to see all that traffic. Yeah. We're now going to update it. Yeah. You can also see here how you can see here with the web API and the rest. That's cool. From my perspective, I really like it, so that it also shows that's transparent. And this is the yeah, I would say that's the end here. That's the end for the workshop, but it's not the end for the security stuff. That's only the beginning, and that does only cover the basic things. Yeah, basic things you should know and you should be familiar with how it works, and from that stuff. And the next is really you have to ensure there are different dimensions. You have to ensure, for example, that your containers are safe. Yeah, we have IBM Cloud Registry, which do vulnerability test and advisor what to do with the updates. You can define own restrictions so that maybe container cannot be deployed in your pipeline, or what you want to define or here. And there are a lot of other topics with encryption and so on, which is related to encryption certification management and so on. You can also have services inside IBM Cloud, but there's also the topic with OWASP, with the Open Web Application Security Project, that you're yeah, well, how do you implement secure? Yeah, how is your implementation secure? Do you have cross-site scripting possibilities and things to scan? Or there's so many dimensions of security and fulfilling regulations and so on. As I said, that was the first step. I hope it was useful for you. Yeah. And when you watch that once again, yeah, I hope the steps were very clear, that you can see it, you can follow it. It was clear enough. I did a separation at the beginning, what we are going to do, and you see it here now, the part from or you have seen the part of the platform security. So, are there any questions or any interaction?
Okay, Thomas, thank you. So I'm jumping in right now. And yeah, thank you so much for the workshop. It was very intensive and interesting, and I think the people have enjoyed it. I think there is one question that we got into Slido, and the question is about, is it possible to use Okta or Auth0 with Quarkus security?
Okta? No, I do not know. What do you at the moment?
Okay. Then the cluster is open until tomorrow, right? So people.
Yeah, so far as I know, yeah. Yeah, so far as I know, it is open until tomorrow, and yeah, so you can try it out.
Yeah, so maybe interesting for everyone who didn't finish it today or who wants to play around, or especially also for the people who joined later or are watching later today in the on-demand session and so on. So feel free to
sorry, now I see now see the question more there. Yeah, maybe it depends. So that what we now with Quarkus security now in our project now. It took a little bit time to reach. Yeah, what we're using is we use it with OpenID Connect. Yeah, and that is what is common. And if we have special, then we have to take a look at the Quarkus framework, and that is what we got. So I didn't search for that. Yeah, so and that's the reason. So we focused on that, and that was not on my list.
Okay, and then maybe, I mean, you touched base a bit on that, but as you said, that was now just the introduction and the first steps into this topic. So what would you recommend as the next steps, or what can people watch? Are there any other workshops you would advise to join, or are there any references, websites?
The next is really that's for a starting point, how to get started with the security stuff, and then you have to define what you want to dig in, because there are many different separations. It is how what I also did, how to move, for example, that application to Red Hat OpenShift, what you have to verify, because there is something with the securing container. What I noticed, for example, that is that we have the Nginx running. We have to do some additional configuration for the Nginx with the web application, and doing some additional configuration because there's a difference with cluster IP. But it's not related to workshops. It's just what I want to say. There are so many different topics from the starting point, that you have to take a look. Do I want to take a look into my implementation security? I would encourage that I take a look in OWASP. So for the security project, which gives guidelines how to do that, and then what components are your applications using? What I said with the encryption stuff and so on. Yeah, what you are going to use, and take a look here how that works, and how to make that secure. And then we have additional workshops for that. What I said, it depends on what you are going to do, and it's a widespread. Going to IBMdeveloper.com, take a look here, or IBM Cloud, and insert. I do not have a concrete recommendation. Yeah, what is best? Sure, because I do not know what the best is for. Because I do not know what the interest is. So there are so many different kinds of interest. I notice also when I dig in that topic, you have so many. They have the network, the different dimensions in the network, the parts here inside. Is also really a starting point, yeah, to secure it. Well, and also the questions rise up: where does the developer responsibility really end? Quota, yeah, with all this DevOps stuff. I think that is good to know. Maybe not. You do not have to set up everything by yourself, but you have to know that the backgrounds, yeah, when you deploy it to Kubernetes, yeah, and to secure it, yeah, with the network stuff, and also the implementation, that you really know how to do an authentication and authorization, and have the basics here. But it is also with the verification, what I did, for example, choosing the right framework to avoid what I said with the OWASP input, yeah, that you do not store any malicious data in your database, which comes up later, and, for example, do some cross-site scripting, so that everything is secure except the data in the database, and the data in the unsecured data in the database is secured by encryption. But you did it wrong from the beginning in the implementation. Yeah. So as I said, yeah,
it's a big field.
It's a really, yeah, and that's I think that's a very good starting point, really, from a developer perspective. The most two relevant parts when it comes to cloud native, I would say, from my perspective, or for our perspective, and access our cloud native starter project. Yeah. It also contains a workshop for the reactive part. So Niklas, will you also cover the reactive topics today? Yeah, so that is what I can say.
Looking forward to that one as well. Let me just ask backstage, are there any other questions in Zoom directly on the chat? No? Okay, then, I mean, we are very good at time. It's 12 sharp. But yeah. I would maybe like to also ask you maybe one or two personal questions, Thomas. What was your first PC?
Well, it was PS6.
Okay. What did you do with it?
I start programming with that because I want also to do, or not really. I want. That was my really own PC. I borrowed also Commodore because I liked gaming. Yeah, gaming. I want to create some own games. It was the first part. I want to. Was my first touching by getting something moving. Yeah, with basic. Yeah. And then going on with Pascal and so on, and trying to, but I never finished the game.
What was the game about? Like something jumping around on the screen?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to do. It was that something and interaction, because I like that you are totally free with all that programming stuff. And when I take a look at my son, what currently is possible, it's incredible. From my lifetime, the starting point and where we are now, and I want to be. It would be great from that perspective to never die. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is such incredible what is possible in that short time frame. And my wife and I are also thinking about the holodeck.
Yeah.
When it will be possible also from yeah. So that was my touching point, and I really like with the programming stuff, and that's the reason why I also like Kiali, and why I use that different I really graphical. I really like to visualize it. So I'm not a developer who really honestly really only do it coding, and the coding is enough. I need some visual connection, yeah, to see, okay, that's connected, to have an abstraction, yeah, and that is what I really like.
Yeah,
so next question.
That's nice to hear. Yeah, I mean, I also think that the steps that we do, like from a technical point of view, what's possible and what will be possible, it's always shorter and shorter. It's kind of exponential. So looking forward, what happens and what is possible in 5 years, in 10 years, totally different story.
Incredible. Who when I think even with mobiles and so on, what it's there that can play Snake. I mean, and now it's
exactly.
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's like a single point of entry to your life. Yeah, when you are thinking, yeah, from that point and that is what why security is something which is maybe also ugly, yeah, because it prevents you to do what you want to do. Is who likes to manage all these passwords? And what I said with the certification manager, when you have so many certificates to manage, here's the certificate, then you have to update. Yeah, so it is incredible.
It's important, right?
It is important. It is incredible what we can do, but it is always like with freedom, yeah, comes a lot of responsibility. And if a lot of people using something, yeah, then the commercial part comes in, not only from the commercial from companies, also from hacker or other ones. Okay, I want to steal something, yeah, and that is the reason why we must use all these ugly passwords which are preventing us to be fast.
Yeah,
always
you
searching.
mentioned one thing. You said like the mobile, our whole life is in it. I would say that maybe the life is already the mobile, and the bodies are only the extension of the life in the mobile for a lot of people.
I
So,
would,
but I
yeah,
think that's the time of
yeah.
today, right?
I totally agree. What I also think it is like a coexistence, and now we can no longer say that the real life is only the life we are currently, because at the moment I'm currently here, but I'm currently also yeah, in
Also
the
here.
stream, also here in the stream, yeah, and yeah, it's a mixture, and it's like a hybrid life. I would say it's a hybrid life. It's an integrated life, and yeah, digital is a part of you, and that's the reason why I really would like to know what will be maybe in 50 or 60 years, what is normal. When we go back to 50 or 60 years, what was normal there, yeah, if somebody would say, yeah, I can have that single device and it's everything in it, going to the jail.
Yeah, let's see what that device will be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Thomas, once again, thank you so much for delivering this workshop. As I
Yeah.
said, it will be also on demand available. If someone comes also on time to join, you can use the cluster on IBM, register there with your IBM Cloud Lite account. And yeah, so for us, we are moving on with a break until 1 p.m. And then we will start our afternoon session with interesting talks. We will start with interesting sessions about reactive applications. Then we will have some front-end stuff to talk about. And at the end, also looking forward, we are talking about Chromium and how to build some extensions. So an interesting day still to come. And for everyone now, have a nice coffee break or lunch break or whatever, and see you in around 1 hour again. Thank you very much, and bye bye.
Have you found your dream job as a developer? Or are you stuck in an unfulfilling job? On WeAreDevelopers.com, you find over 1,000 jobs in Europe that fit the tech stack that you want to work with, and salaries go up to 130K. All you have to do is create a free profile, and you automatically get matched with jobs that fit your requirements. So what are you waiting for? Create your free profile and let companies apply to you now.